Krishna Dandat Pranam. Now today we continue our Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirat Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 11, Chapter 21, Shloka number 35 to 43. We completing today this chapter. Veda Brahma Atma Vishaya Trikanda Vishaya Ime Parokshivada Rushaya Paroksham Mama Cha Priyam Shabda Brahma Sudurbodham Prana Indriya Manomayam Anantaparam Gambiram Durvigayam Samudravata मया उपबृहीतं भूम्ना ब्रह्मणा अनंत शक्तिना भूतेषु घोष रूपेण विशेषु ऊर्णा इव लक्ष्यते यथा ऊर्णनाभिः हृदयात् ऊर्णा उद्वमते मुखात् आकाशात् घोषवाण प्राणा मनसा स्पर्श रूपिणा छंदमय अमृतमय सहस्रपद्विन् प्रभु ओंकारात् व्यंजित स्पर्श स्वर उष्म अंत स्तभूषितां विचित्र भाषा विततां छंदोभि चतुः उत्तरे अनंत पारां बृहितं सृजति अक्षिपते स्वयं गायत्री उष्णीक अनुष्टुप च बृहति पंक्ति एव च त्रिष्टुप जगति अति छंदः हि अत्यष्टि अति जगत विराट किं विधत्ते किं आचष्टे किं अनुदय विकल्पयेत इति अस्य हृदयं लोके न अन्यः मत्वेत् कश्चन मां विदत्ते अविदत्ते मां विकल्प्य अपोह्यते तु अहम् एतावान् सर्ववेद अर्थ शब्द आस्ताय मां भीता माया मात्रम् अनुदाय अन्ते प्रतिषिध्य सिद्धि प्रसिद्धति. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He Vedas are divided into three divisions. Ultimately revealed the living entity as pure spirit soul, the Vedic seers and mantras. However, deal in esoteric terms, and I also am pleased by such confidential description. The transcendental sound of the Vedas is very difficult to comprehend and manifest on different levels within the pran, senses and mind. This Vedic sound is unlimited, very deep and unfathomable, just like the ocean. As the unlimited, unchanging and omnipotent personality of Godhead dwelling within all living beings, I personally established the Vedic sound vibration in the form of Onkara within all living entities. It is thus pursued subtly, just like a single strand of fiber on a lotus stalk. Just as a spider brings forth from its heart its web and emits it through its mouth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests himself as the reverberating, primeval, vital air comprising all sacred Vedic meters and full of transcendental pleasure. Thus the Lord, from the ethereal sky of his heart, creates the great and limitless Vedic sound by the agency of his mind, which conceives of variegated sounds, such as the sparshas. The Vedic sound branches out in thousands of directions, adorned with the different letters expanded from the syllable Om. The consonants, vowels, sibilants, and semivowels. The Vedas is then elaborated by many verbal varieties expressed in different meters, each having four more syllables than the previous one. Ultimately, the Lord again withdraws his manifestation of Vedic sound within himself. The Vedic meters are Gayatri, Ushnik, Anushtup, Bhruti, Pankruti, Trishtup, Jagati, Atichanda, Atyashti, Atijagati, and Ativirat. In the entire world, no one but me actually understand the confidential purpose of Vedic knowledge. Thus people do not know what the Vedas are actually prescribing in the ritualistic injunctions of Karmakand, or what object is actually being indicated in the formulas of worship found in the Upasana Kand, or that which is elaborately discussed through various hypotheses in the Jnana Kand section of the Vedas. I am the ritualistic sacrifice enjoined by the Vedas, and I am the worshipable deity. It is I who am presented as various philosophical hypotheses, and it is I alone who am then refuted by philosophical analysis. The transcendental sound vibration thus establishes me as the essential meaning of all Vedic knowledge. The Vedas elaborately analyzing all material dualities as nothing but my illusory potency ultimately completely negate this duality and achieve them own satisfaction. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the previous verses, Lord Krishna clearly refuted the concept that Vedic knowledge is meant for material enjoyment, and here the Lord summarizes the actual purpose of Vedic literature, self-realization. Although the conditioned souls are struggling in the network of material energy, their actual existence is transcendental freedom in the kingdom of God. The Vedas gradually lift the conditioned soul out of the darkness of illusion and establish him in the eternal loving service of the Lord, as stated in Vedanta Sutra 4.4.22. Anavritti Shabdat, one who properly hears Vedic knowledge does not have to return to the cycle of birth and death. One may ask why the Lord himself, as well as the Lord's representative, the Vedic seers and mantras, speak in esoteric or indirect terms, as the Lord stated in Bhagavad Gita, Naam Prakasha Sarvasya. The Supreme Lord does not allow himself to be taken cheaply, and thus he is not manifest to superficial or inimical people. Those who are polluted by the material atmosphere are induced to purify themselves through Vedic rituals that offer fruitive result. Just as a child is induced to take medicine by the offer of a candy reward, because of the confidential nature of Vedic exposition, less intelligent person cannot appreciate the ultimate transcendental purpose of the Vedas, and consequently they fall down to the platform of sense gratification. The term Brahmatma, spirit soul, ultimately indicates the supreme personality of Godhead, who states in Bhagavad Gita that knowledge of him is Rajaguhya, the most confidential of all secrets. One who depends upon material sense perception remains in gross ignorance of the absolute truth. One who depends upon mental and intellectual speculation may get a clue that the eternal soul and super soul are both within the material body. But one who depends upon the Lord himself, faithfully hearing the Lord's own message in Bhagavad Gita, perfectly understand the entire situation and goes back home, back to Godhead, having fulfilled the true purpose of Vedic knowledge. According to Vedic knowledge, the Vedic sound is divided into 4 phases, which can be understood only by the most intelligent Brahmana. This is because 3 of the divisions are internally situated within the living entity, and only the 4th division is externally manifested as speech. Even this 4th phase of Vedic sound, called Vaikhari, is very difficult to understand for ordinary human being. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained these divisions as follows. The prana phase of the Vedic sound, known as para, is situated in the Adhara chakra. The mental phase, known as Pashyanti, is situated in the area of the navel on the Manipuraka chakra. The intellectual phase, known as Madhyama, is situated in the heart area in the Anahata chakra. Finally, the manifest sensory phase of Vedic sound is called Vaikari. Such Vedic sound is Anantapara, because it comprehends all vital energies within the universe and beyond, and is thus undivided by the time or space. Actually, Vedic sound vibration is so subtle, unfathomable, and deep that only the Lord himself and his empowered followers, such as Vyas and Narada, can understand its actual form and meaning. Ordinary human beings cannot comprehend all of the intricacies and subtleties of the Vedic sound. But if one takes to Krishna consciousness, one can immediately understand the conclusion of all Vedic knowledge, namely Lord Krishna himself, the original source of Vedic knowledge. Foolish person devote their vital air, senses, and mind to sense gratification, and thus do not understand the transcendental value of the holy name of God. Ultimately, the essence of all Vedic sound is the holy name of the Supreme Lord, which is not different from the Lord himself. Since the Lord is unlimited, his holy name is equally unlimited. No one can understand the transcendental glories of the Lord without the Lord's direct mercy. By offenselessly chanting the holy names Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, one can enter into the transcendental mysteries of Vedic sound. Otherwise, the knowledge of the Vedas will remain durvigahyam, or impossible to penetrate. The Supreme Personality of Godhead personally resides within the heart of every living entity. And from this verse, we can understand that the seed of all Vedic knowledge is also situated within all living beings. In this way, the process of awakening Vedic knowledge and thereby awakening one's internal relationship with God is natural and necessary for everyone. All perfection is found within the heart of the living being. As soon as the heart is purified by chanting the holy name of God, that perfection, Krishna consciousness, immediately awakens. Srila Sridhar Swami has given an elaborate technical explanation of these three verses, the understanding of which requires extensive linguistic knowledge of the Sanskrit language. The essential point is that transcendental knowledge is expressed through Vedic sound vibration, which is itself a manifestation of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. Vedic sound emanates from the Supreme Lord and is vibrated to glorify and understand Him. The conclusion of all Vedic vibration is found in Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord states, Veda is sarvayam eva vedya. All Vedic knowledge is simply meant to teach us to know and love God. One who always think of Lord Krishna, who becomes the Lord's devotee and who bows down to and worship the Lord within faith and devotion, chanting his holy name, has certainly achieved a perfect understanding of all that is dedicated by the word Veda knowledge. The Gayatri meter has 24 syllables, the Ushnik 28, and the Anushtup 32, and so on. Each meter having 4 more syllables than the previous one. Vedic sound is called Bruhati, or most expansive, and thus it is not possible for ordinary living entities to understand all the technical details in this matter. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the absolute truth. Lord Sri Krishna says the Lord is the source, maintainer, and ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge. He is Vedavit, or the only true knower of Vedic knowledge. So-called philosophers, ether, Vedic scholars, or ordinary men may give their sectarian opinion, but it is the Lord himself who knows the confidential purpose of the Vedas. The Lord is the only actual shelter and lovable objects for all living entities, as it states in 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita 10.41. Yadyat vibhuti mat swatvam Srimad urjitam eva va tat tat eva agachatvam mama teja ansha sambhavam. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creation spring from but a spark of my splendor. All beautiful, extraordinary, and powerful manifestations are insignificant displays of the Lord's own opulence. Although ordinary people may quarrel over the purpose of religion, the actual purpose is one, Krishna consciousness. And for love of Godhead, all the Vedic formulas are understood to be preliminary stages leading to the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness, in which one fully surrenders to the devotional service of the Lord. The pure devotees of the Lord represent Him within this world and never speak anything which is not authorized by the Lord, because they are repeating the Lord's own words. They are also to be understood as true knowers of the Vedas. The Lord declared in the previous verses that He alone knows the ultimate purpose of the Vedas, and now the Lord reveals that He alone is the ultimate basis and purpose of all Vedic knowledge. The Karma Kand section of the Vedas prescribe ritualistic sacrifices for promotion to heaven. Such sacrifices are the Lord himself. Similarly, the Upasana section of the Veda designates different demigods as objects of ritualistic worship, and these deities are not different from the Lord himself, being expansions of the Lord's body. In the Gyan Kand section of the Vedas, different philosophical methods of the analysis are presented and refuted. Such knowledge, which analyzes the potency of the Supreme Lord, is not different from him. Ultimately, Lord Krishna is everything, because everything is part and parcel of the Lord's multipotencies. Although Vedic literature entices those absorbed in material duality to begin the Vedic way of life by offering them materially desirable rewards, the Vedas eventually refute all material duality by bringing one to the stage of God consciousness, wherein there is nothing different from the Supreme Lord. Within the Vedic literature, there are various injunctions stating that at a particular stage of life, one should give up fruitive rituals and take to the path of knowledge. Similarly, other injunctions declare that a self-realized soul should give up the path of speculative knowledge and take directly to the shelter of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. But however, is there an injunction recommending that one give up the loving service of the Lord, because that is the eternal constitutional position of every living entity. Different philosophical theses are presented and rejected in the Vedas, since one who is progressing must give up each previous stage in the advancement of knowledge. For example, one who is addicted to sex enjoyment is taught to accept religious marriage and enjoy sex pleasure with his wife. Such ritualistic knowledge is to be given up when one attains the stage of detachment, whereupon one is recommended to take the renounced order of life. In that stage of life, one is forbidden to see or speak with women. When, however, one reaches the perfection of Krishna consciousness, wherein the Lord is manifest everywhere, one may engage all living entities, including women, in the loving service of the Lord without danger of spiritual fall down. Thus, different injunctions based on progressive stages of spiritual vision are presented and refuted in Vedic literature, since all such injunctions and processes are ultimately meant for the achievement of Krishna consciousness, the loving service of the Lord. They are not different from the Lord Krishna himself. The conditioned soul therefore should not prematurely stop his progressive march back home, back to Godhead, by foolishly mistaking an intermediate or preliminary stage of advancement as the actual goal of life. One must understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the source, maintenance, and resting place of everything, and that every living entity is the Lord's eternal servant. In this way, one should continue on the Vedic path all the way back home, back to Godhead, for eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Thus end the purport now prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवान् च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देव श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिन्धुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam. Prabhuji will tell you in detail about today's shlokas.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So the journey continues and we reach one of the important chapters conclusion today, which has actually made us more aware about the depth of the Vedas and the actual understanding how to get from the Vedas. So Krishna has clearly explained this whole path to us because virtue and fault are not absolute, but are relative to one's particular platform of advancement. And if you are remaining fixed in the type of discrimination suitable to one's level of advancement, it may be good and anything else may be bad. So this was the basic understanding of virtue and fault, which Krishna has made us aware. And then we have seen the complete doctrine of Varnashrama, which Krishna explained clearly to us, how it codifies the principles of bodily purity and impurity. With respect to place, purity and impurity are distinguished by facts like the presence of maybe black deer. In connection with time, there are distinctions in terms of time itself or its specific relation with various objects. In connection with physical substances, the distinctions are made in terms of sanctification of objects and words. And by such activities such as bathing, giving charity, performing austere penances, and remembering the Supreme Lord. And this remembering the Supreme Lord is important. There are also distinctions on the basis of the performance of action. When one's knowledge of mantras is received from the lips of a bona fide spiritual master, the mantra is considered pure. And when one's work is purified by offering it unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is really pure. So if the six factors of place, time are purified, then there is dharma. Otherwise, adharma. Ultimately, there is no substantial basis. Krishna says in distinctions of virtue and fault because they transform according to place, time, beneficiary. In regard to execution of prescribed duties for sense gratification, the actual intent of all scriptures is subduing of materialistic propensities. Such is the actual principle of religion that destroys sorrow, confusion, and fear and bestows all good fortune. Work performed for sense gratification is actually not beneficial at all. If you go to the Vaikuntha planets where there's so much of everything, happiness, where if you go to the descriptions which are there in the 3rd canto, 15th chapter, the residents there, along with their consorts, they're traveling in the flying aeroplanes. And the atmosphere is so good. The Madhana flowers are moving around. The Madhvi flowers are giving extravagant fragrances. So actually from material standard, it's a atmosphere for best of the fulfillment of sensory gratifications. But then the citizens, they're busy in chanting and singing the glories of Lord. And they consider this fragrance which is coming, the breeze which is flowing as something which is inhibiting them. Because they understand all the gratifications are meant for Lord Shri Krishna and nothing else. And that is why Krishna tells here also that if you do anything for your own sense gratification, it is useless. So, though there could be falsehoods which are mentioned, actually they are there to gradually cultivate a taste for the highest benefit. But if you are of inferior intelligence, then we may consider such texts from the scriptures as purpose of Vedas, which actually is not true. If our minds get agitated by these flowery words of Vedas, then we won't have any attraction for hearing topics of Lord Hari. And then the whole purpose of our life will be destroyed. It should be understood that there is nothing inner purport to Vedas apart from the original personality of God. Vedeshchara, Vederaham is what Krishna declares. So Vedas focus exclusively upon the supreme absolute truth, the personality of God. Because this material world is simply the illusory energy of Lord, it is by refuting material existence that one gains association from the matter. That is what we have to strive for and achieve. And tomorrow is one of the most important days for us to achieve it. Tomorrow being the auspicious day of the appearance of the most munificent form of Lord Krishna, that is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Tomorrow is Gaur Purnima. Hari Hari Bol. So we have to celebrate and we have to pray from the deepest of our heart to Gauranga. Please give us the strength to purify ourselves and become suitable enough to come back to Golok Vrindavan. We do not even want to go to Vaikuntha. What is important is going to that original place and taking up our perpetual position of servitude to Krishna. And that is what we can achieve by praying to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tomorrow. So let us all come together. Tomorrow we'll fast throughout the day till moon rise, and then we'll have exciting Ekadashi Prasadam. In our local temples, there will be fast, their feast, there will be Abhishek. So please join the celebrations. And definitely we'll meet again at 8 p.m. for the Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhescha kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.